serious. I think it's a big game to them, and they don't understand that the more confusion and the more back and forth that we do, no one suffers but the people of the village.
Down, and that is why the building is closed.
Well, we were advised by the attorneys to close the building. The building shouldn't be open.
With insurance in jeopardy and critical services at risk, the meeting's failure to reach a resolution left many questioning whether this leadership could be trusted to address the community's real needs. Once seen as a promising leader with bold ambitions, Henyard's tenure had devolved into a political circus where personal grudges took precedence over the well-being of the people she was elected to serve. As the evening dragged on, it became painfully clear, the dysfunction wasn't going away anytime soon. And for the residents of Dalton and Thornton Township, the lingering question remained: how much longer would they have to endure this circus before real change finally arrived?
It's about democracy and it's about hypocrisy.
I really think it's very...
By the time the meeting adjourned without resolution, it had become painfully clear, Dalton and Thornton Township weren't just dealing with ineffective leadership, they were trapped in a political environment where drama and infighting overshadowed real governance and progress. Residents, already disillusioned by ongoing turmoil, were left questioning how long they would have to wait before meaningful change took place. Adding to the spectacle, the meeting was streamed live, drawing a broader audience. The comment section quickly became a battleground of polarized opinions. Henyard's supporters rallied behind her, praising her refusal to back down in the face of what they saw as obstruction by the trustees. Meanwhile, her critics accused her of orchestrating the chaos. One commenter summed up the frustration by stating, "This is why Thornton Township doesn't get anything done," lamenting that while Henyard claimed to be cleaning up the mess, she was also at the center of the dysfunction. Another comment echoed the sentiment, "Too much drama, not enough action." As long as infighting and personal conflicts persisted, the township's growing financial burdens would only worsen. The lack of adequate insurance coverage, coupled with the leadership's inability to make critical decisions, left the entire township vulnerable to legal and financial risks. Township properties, vehicles, and essential programs were left unprotected, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. Employees, uncertain about the future of their jobs, were left in limbo as the holiday season approached. Meanwhile, residents who relied on vital emergency assistance programs such as food support and transportation for medical appointments were left wondering whether they could continue to depend on these services. The dysfunction within the township board created an environment where personal agendas took priority over the community's needs, deepening the uncertainty for everyone involved. Instead of tackling immediate concerns such as insurance coverage and budget approval, the meeting only reinforced the narrative of dysfunction that had already plagued the township. The longer these conflicts dragged on, the greater the risk of permanent damage to the community's stability. With essential services on the brink of collapse, both residents and employees were left wondering how much longer they would have to endure this cycle of infighting and neglect before real change could take place. As the meeting came to a close with no resolution in sight, the situation became even more dire. Dalton and Thornton Township weren't just suffering from ineffective leadership, they were trapped in a political environment where egos and personal grudges outweighed the interests of the community. The residents, already disillusioned, had little faith that this chaotic cycle would end anytime soon. Voters will head to the polls in February for the primary election, but with no sign of cooperation among township leaders and a growing sense of distrust, the future remains uncertain. Until the political climate shifts and leaders begin prioritizing the real issues facing their community, the residents of Dalton and Thornton Township may be left waiting far longer than they can afford.
Unanimous, the objector's petition has been withdrawn.
Can't do that. Can't contest everyone.
It was just another day in Thornton Township, as one attendee casually shrugged, summing up the growing frustration and exhaustion that has taken root in the community. Meanwhile, Tiffany Henyard's decision to host a bingo night amid the ongoing crisis has only fueled the anger of her critics. What's even more disturbing is how normalized this dysfunction has become. Many residents now expect meetings to devolve into shouting matches, personal attacks, and little hope of any substantive progress. One citizen, visibly frustrated, questioned how Henyard could prioritize bingo when the township was collapsing around her. In response, Henyard's supporters claimed she was simply trying to preserve a sense of community during these challenging times. However, the optics of the event didn't sit well with many, especially those who felt that leadership was more focused on distractions rather than finding real solutions. While Henyard attempted to maintain an air of normalcy, the reality for residents, particularly the most vulnerable, was far more dire. Seniors who rely on vital services such as meal programs and transportation found themselves at risk, as the township lacked adequate insurance coverage. Without this essential safety net, these programs were in danger of shutting down entirely, depriving those in need of the support they desperately relied on. Despite Henyard's insistence that she wanted to keep employees on payroll and avoid layoffs, many argued that she seemed more focused on political maneuvering than actually addressing the urgent problems at hand. The township's dysfunction continues to deepen, with residents growing increasingly irate over prolonged controversy and the palpable lack of progress. Many believe that the situation is less about addressing the real needs of the community and more about personal grudges and political gamesmanship. It has become clear that the township's ongoing crisis, exacerbated by Henyard's leadership, is doing significant damage to its reputation. Public perception has shifted. People no longer care about political theater or showmanship, they want real action. They want solutions, not distractions. The growing sentiment is that the township's future is at stake. As leadership continues to bicker and fail to meet basic needs, it is becoming harder for residents to see a path forward. The longer the dysfunction drags on, the more uncertain the township's future becomes. Nobody likes being manipulated, and in Thornton Township, that's exactly what many residents believe is happening. The issue surrounding Henyard's leadership remains deeply contentious, with sharply divided opinions on her role and approach. To some, Henyard is a resolute and determined leader, steadfast in defending her position and taking on anyone who challenges her authority. To others, she is combative and unyielding, unwilling to compromise or listen to opposing viewpoints. This tension was fully on display during a recent meeting when a trustee offered a financial compromise in an attempt to resolve some of the township's issues, only for Henyard to outright reject it. Her refusal to entertain alternative solutions further solidified the perception that she seeks total control over decisions. This hardline approach has only deepened the divide between Henyard and her critics, particularly State Senator Napoleon Harris, with whom she has had a long-standing feud. Henyard accuses Harris of orchestrating her exclusion from the Democratic ballot for supervisor, a move she claims was politically motivated and designed to undermine her authority. This feud has widened the rift within Thornton Township politics, making it increasingly difficult for residents to see any form of reconciliation or unity. Henyard has filed numerous lawsuits against Harris and the Democratic Party, alleging voter suppression and unfair practices during the nomination process. While Henyard portrays these ongoing conflicts as battles for the good of the residents, her detractors argue that they are little more than distractions from the township's more pressing issues. Many believe that political maneuvering and infighting have overshadowed the real work that needs to be done, especially as the township grapples with financial mismanagement and concerns about its future. Henyard's reputation has been marred by a series of scandals since she became mayor of Dalton in 2021. From accusations of financial mismanagement to an ongoing federal investigation into her administration's handling of township finances, her leadership has been under constant scrutiny. These issues have only intensified in recent months, as Henyard's political rivals have ramped up their efforts to unseat her. The lawsuits she has filed are only the latest chapter in this ongoing saga of controversy and division. Despite mounting pressure, Henyard remains defiant. She took to social media to announce her intention to run for re-election, asserting that the fight for Thornton Township would continue. However, her political future is far from certain. Her name has been removed from the Democratic ballot for supervisor, leaving her with limited options to maintain her political influence. Her position as mayor of Dalton, while secure for now, is also under constant threat as her opponents work tirelessly to remove her from office. Among her staunchest opponents is Jason House, a senior trustee who has led the charge against Henyard in Dalton. House recently launched his own campaign, pledging to focus on ethics reform and rebuilding trust within the community. According to House, his campaign is not about seeking personal power but about doing what is right for the people of Dalton. While some view House's bid for mayor as a calculated move to consolidate power and shift the political balance in his favor, others see it as another symptom of the political gamesmanship that has plagued Thornton Township for years. Regardless of the motives behind the campaign, it is clear that the power struggle between Henyard and House is far from over. Meanwhile, Henyard's allies are doing everything in their power to secure her place on the ballot for both Thornton Township and Dalton. However, they have encountered significant opposition at every turn. Just last week, several of Henyard's challengers were removed from the ballot after her supporters filed objections, further intensifying the political tension in the area. These actions have led to accusations of manipulation and power grabs, with Henyard's opponents arguing that the move was a blatant attempt to eliminate competition and secure a position by any means necessary. The ongoing legal battles, personal conflicts, and political maneuvering have created a volatile atmosphere in Thornton Township, leaving residents frustrated and uncertain about the future. As the fight for power continues to unfold, it remains to be seen whether Henyard will be able to maintain her hold on the township or whether her opponents will succeed in pushing her out of office. One thing is certain, the political landscape in Thornton Township has become increasingly fractured, with no clear resolution in sight. The community remains divided over the direction its leadership will take. Henyard has become one of the most recognizable faces in the media, frequently appearing in news reports and on social media. Residents of Thornton Township remain in a state of uncertainty as the ongoing drama surrounding their leadership unfolds. Will the township finally secure insurance? Will the budget be approved? And most crucially, will the leadership be able to set aside their personal grudges long enough to govern effectively? These pressing questions remain unanswered, and the path ahead seems anything but simple. The recent meeting, which was intended to address these critical issues, only deepened the divide within the community, sparking mixed responses from the public. Many expressed shock and disgust at the degree of dysfunction on display. One homeowner, disillusioned by the spectacle, remarked that Henyard didn't need the trustees to obtain insurance, rather, she was attempting to deceive the board into covering her own debts by tacking on insurance costs. This sentiment reflects a growing disenchantment among voters who feel that their elected representatives are more interested in playing politics than in serving the public's best interests. For many, it has become clear that political infighting and personal vendettas dominating local governance have overshadowed the real issues affecting the township. As the drama continues to play out, the people of Thornton Township are left wondering what comes next. Will their leadership rise above the turmoil, or will they continue to fail those who depend on them most?